There's a particular kind of tired that doesn't come from doing too much, but from not being able to stop. You lie there, eyes closed, body still, and yet something inside feels quietly switched on. Not loudly anxious, not fully alert. Just awake in a way that doesn't match the darkness around you. Maybe you've had a night where you check the time, turn over, adjust the pillow, and tell yourself, just sleep, as if it's something you can command. And the more you try, the further away it feels. Why does something so natural suddenly feel so unreachable? To understand insomnia, it helps to imagine your brain as a house with two main lighting systems. One is bright and alert, designed for daytime, focus, movement, awareness. The other is dim and restorative, designed for night, repair, memory processing, deep rest. Most of the time, these systems switch smoothly, like lights fading from one to the other at sunset. Insomnia isn't the absence of sleep. It's the lighting system failing to dim when it's supposed to. Inside your brain is a region called the hypothalamus, a small but powerful control center. One part of it acts as a circadian pacemaker, essentially your internal clock, regulating when you feel awake and when you feel sleepy. It uses light, timing, and routine as cues to predict what your body should be doing. Alongside this, there's a chemical called melatonin, often described as the sleep hormone. It doesn't force you to sleep. It signals that it's night, gently encouraging the brain to transition into a quieter state. At the same time, another system is working in the opposite direction, the arousal system. This includes neurotransmitters like norepinephrine and dopamine, which promote alertness, and cortisol, a hormone that helps you stay awake and responsive. Sleep happens when arousal decreases and sleep signals increase. Not instantly, but gradually, like dimming a room rather than flipping a switch. So what goes wrong? In insomnia, the arousal system doesn't power down fully. It's not that your body forgot how to sleep. It's that it's receiving signals that suggest staying awake might be safer. This is sometimes described as hyperarousal, a state where the nervous system remains slightly activated, even when you're physically still. Heart rate might be a little higher, brain activity slightly elevated, thoughts more persistent. Have you ever noticed how your mind seems louder at night? Thoughts that feel manageable during the day suddenly feel sharper, more detailed, harder to let go of. That's not because they've changed. It's because the environment has. With fewer distractions, your awareness turns inward and the brain fills the space. Here's something many people don't realize. Trying harder to sleep can increase wakefulness. Effort activates the very systems that keep you alert. Sleep isn't something the brain responds to through force. It responds to permission. Another lesser-known detail involves a chemical called adenosine. Throughout the day, as your brain uses energy, adenosine builds up, creating what's called sleep pressure, the biological urge to sleep. By evening, levels are high enough to promote rest. But caffeine blocks adenosine receptors. It doesn't remove tiredness. It masks your brain's ability to detect it. Hours later, when caffeine wears off, the underlying pressure returns, sometimes unevenly, contributing to that tired but awake feeling. Light plays a role too, and not just brightness. The retina, the light-sensitive layer at the back of your eye, contains cells that specifically detect blue light, the wavelength common in daylight and screens. These cells send signals directly to your internal clock, telling it whether it's day or night. So when your environment stays bright late into the evening, your brain receives mixed messages. It delays melatonin release, keeping the lighting system brighter for longer. Temperature is another quiet influence. Your body naturally cools slightly before sleep. This drop in core temperature helps initiate the transition into rest. If your environment or internal state doesn't support that cooling, perhaps due to warmth, stress, or timing, the process slows. Here's something surprising. People with insomnia often underestimate how much sleep they actually get. This is called sleep state misperception. Brain scans show periods of light sleep occurring even when someone feels fully awake. The boundary between sleep and wake becomes blurred, making the night feel longer and more restless than it truly is. Another lesser-known fact is that wake-ups during the night are normal. Everyone experiences brief awakenings between sleep cycles. Most people don't remember them because they fall back asleep quickly. In insomnia, awareness lingers during these moments, making them feel significant. There's also a behavioral layer. Over time, the bed itself can become associated with wakefulness. The brain forms associations quickly. If a place is repeatedly linked with alertness, thinking, or frustration, it begins to expect that state in that environment. This doesn't mean anything is broken. It means the brain is learning patterns, even unhelpful ones. Interestingly, the body often maintains a strong drive to sleep even during insomnia. You may feel exhausted during the day, struggle to concentrate, or notice slower thinking. That's sleep pressure still doing its job. The difficulty lies in aligning that pressure with the right conditions. The purpose of insomnia, in a biological sense, is protective. If the brain perceives uncertainty, whether physical, emotional, or environmental, it leans toward vigilance. From an evolutionary perspective, staying slightly awake in an unpredictable situation increased survival. That protective instinct hasn't disappeared. It just sometimes activates in modern contexts where the threat is less obvious. Mental load, irregular schedules, overstimulation. Have you noticed how sleep often comes more easily when you feel safe, settled, and unobserved? That's not coincidence. The nervous system relaxes its guard when conditions feel predictable. There are also subtle rhythms in daily life that influence sleep without drawing attention. Regular exposure to daylight anchors your internal clock. Gentle movement during the day supports energy regulation. Eating patterns, social interaction, and even quiet routines signal consistency. Traditional habits across cultures often reflect this without explicitly naming it. Evening wind-down rituals, dim lighting, quieter conversations, all ways of gradually dimming the internal lighting system. Another lesser-known detail involves breathing. Slow, steady breathing patterns can influence the parasympathetic nervous system, the branch responsible for rest and digestion. When this system becomes more active, heart rate slows, muscle tension decreases, and the body shifts closer to a sleep-ready state. And then there's the mind itself. Thoughts don't stop at night because thinking is what the brain does. The difference lies in how much attention they receive. When the environment is quiet and still, thoughts can feel amplified, as if they're closer than they actually are. You might wonder, why does sleep sometimes return suddenly after nights of difficulty? Often, it's because pressure and timing realign. The system corrects itself when conditions become favorable again. Your body hasn't forgotten how to sleep. The mechanisms are still there, working continuously, even when the experience feels disrupted. The feeling of lying awake can be frustrating, especially when you know how much rest matters. But beneath that experience, your body is not failing. It's navigating signals, balancing systems, adjusting to input. Here are 5 natural, evidence-based ways that support better sleep by working with your body's biology rather than forcing it. 1. Morning light exposure. Getting natural light into your eyes within the first hour of waking helps regulate your circadian rhythm, your internal clock. Light signals travel from the retina to the brain's timing center, helping set when melatonin will rise later that evening. Even 10 to 20 minutes outdoors on a cloudy day can make a difference. 2. Consistent wake-up time. Waking up at roughly the same time each day strengthens your sleep-wake cycle. Your body builds something called sleep pressure driven by adenosine, across the day, and a regular wake time helps that pressure peak at the right time in the evening. 3. Gentle evening wind down. Lowering stimulation in the hour before bed supports the shift from alertness to rest. This might look like dimmer lighting, quieter activities, or stepping away from bright screens. The goal is to reduce signals that keep the brain in a daytime state. 4. Daytime movement. Regular physical activity improves sleep quality by helping regulate stress hormones and increasing sleep pressure. It doesn't need to be intense. Walking, stretching, or light strength work all contribute. Timing matters too. Earlier in the day tends to support sleep more than late night intensity. 5. Slow breathing or relaxation practices. Techniques that lengthen the exhale, like slow nasal breathing, activate the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest state. This can reduce physiological arousal, making it easier for the body to transition into sleep. All of these work by sending your body consistent signals of timing and safety, which are the two main things your brain looks for before allowing sleep to happen naturally. I hope this has helped. Like and subscribe for more health tips.